Hello, everyone. My name is Harini Krishnan, and I go to Folsom High School. Welcome to Know Your Charity, a talk show series that I'm honored to be hosting in 2021. The intent of this series is to bring leaders and representatives of different voluntary, nonprofit, and charitable organizations in the Greater Sacramento Area. I'm hoping that with these interviews, we will get to hear about the great humanitarian work that these people and their organizations do for the community. This will serve as an opportunity for students and their families to help out in the community. Today, we have Jan Lopez with us from B.E.S.T Service Dogs. Jan Lopez has been a Labrador Retriever breeder for 30 years. After working at her job at Sac State, she learned about dogs and became a breeder. Welcome, Jan. Thank you so much for agreeing to have this interview with me.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Okay, so let's get right to it. What is B.E.S.T Service Dogs?
We are a nonprofit organization. We breed Labrador Retrievers for service dog organizations. We focus mainly on children on the autism spectrum and our veterans with PTSD. So our puppies go to those organizations so that they can be trained for the people that need them.
Okay. And what kind of services do you provide?
I provide a lot of education to the community about what service dogs are and what they're not. There's a lot of confusion and gray area about what service dogs are and how they're trained. So we provide that. Prior to COVID, we were getting some of our bigger dogs into therapy work to just be around and be companion-y type dogs to people and organizations around the community. I also provide training for pets right now, and hopefully in the future we'll be doing some service dog training as well.
Okay, for our viewers who may not know what service dogs and what they do, could you give us like a brief little definition?
Sure. A service dog is trained to be of help to their person. And that could be in a lot of different ways, but what they're trained to actually do a task. They can't just be a family dog or a pet. So they're usually trained to either, depending on the person, pull a wheelchair, pick up dropped items, open doors, close doors, retrieve items for the person. You can even help them dress or undress. So there takes a lot of training to get the dogs to do those types of tasks. If you see a service dog, you shouldn't pet them or acknowledge them in any way. They're supposed to be an invisible partner for the person that they're working for.
Okay, that's awesome. So what part of the community do you cover with your service dogs?
Well, it's the autism community and the veteran community is what we're focusing on.
Okay. And as an organization itself, do you have employees or is it more volunteers?
It's volunteers right now. We are about 5 years old. Mostly I'm doing everything myself, chief bottle washer and dog trainer, but I do have a couple of people that have been helping volunteer for facilities and with the puppies, especially when we have puppies on site, we get people coming in to help.
Okay, yeah. And what inspired you to start this organization?
I had a brother who was handicapped when I was growing up, and I saw his struggles. And when I finally learned of a service dog or what they are, what they do, I was really impressed, so I took my love of animals and thought I would really, really want to be a part of that in some way. And so it took me a really long time to get here, but I'm here, that's why.
Yeah, that's amazing how that sparked a whole nother thing. How do you get your funds to run your organization?
Mostly donation. And my dog training, all the dog training that I do, the funds go to B.E.S.T. Also, the sale of the puppies. Not all the puppies go into service. You do a test to see which dogs we think will be the most apt to succeed. And then the other puppies are sold as pets.
Okay. So you can purchase non-service dogs from your organization.
Yes.
Okay, of course.
And all the money goes towards the nonprofit.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how can we as the public help, especially like students and younger people?
Let me see. I think, the education is really key. It would be really great to get more knowledge base out there to the student population as to what exactly service dogs do and how they can help, because there's so many different areas that dogs can help us, and just in general about dogs and their learning and how they can help partners. I mean, there's scent detection dogs, there's diabetic dogs, there's search and rescue dogs. There's just it's a much bigger subject than I think most people realize. So if, education, spreading the word.
So really just knowing the difference and what service dogs actually do.
Yeah. And like what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So what have been some of your challenges? I know now that we're coming out of this pandemic, during the pandemic, what were some of your challenges?
Well, getting the puppies out to be socialized is really important. Once the puppy we really start socialization from when they're born, but I usually have people come over to the house to sit and play with puppies, which is a great job. And that socializes them to different kinds of people, children, men. And then usually after that, if I have a puppy of my own that I'm raising, I take them out to different places in the community where they can meet other people and see other things. They get acclimated to novelty in the environment. So you want a dog to not be afraid of things and to not pay attention to just you and not whatever else is going on. So you have to take the dogs out and about. And that has been really hard with COVID because you can't go anywhere. We couldn't get them out. It was very frightening just to be out. So that's been a real challenge. And then we couldn't do any fundraisers or anything like that. We had to try to do virtual fundraisers. And those are the challenges pretty much from COVID. We all had challenges basically because we got a dog that didn't get pregnant, and we were really counting on that. And dogs aren't machines. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. They're living, breathing beings. So you can't always depend that you're going to be able to get a litter. So that was challenging, but we're hanging in there.
Yeah, hopefully this year will be better.
Yes.
I know you said that the dogs need socializing. Do they socialize with like their other dogs or with people?
You want them to socialize with other dogs, but only after they've had their full range of vaccinations, because you don't want them to be exposed to anything. But mostly it's people and places, because if a service dog is going to be out and about, they need to, see things like buses and wheelchair lifts and elevators and all those kinds of things that a home pet dog doesn't even ever see. Mm-hmm. So you have to be pretty diligent about getting your dog out, dog in training out to places and meeting things and challenges.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that like you have to like decide which dogs are like fit to be service animals. How do you make that decision as to who is better as a service dog and who is better as a pet?
Well, there's a couple of different tests out there that service dog industry uses. One is called the Volhard test, made by a scientist. And there's a list of things that you will introduce the puppy to at 7 weeks of age to see how they react. And it's said to predict what their temperament's going to be in the future. So things like you crumple up a piece of paper really loud, and is a puppy afraid? Is the puppy curious? So you grade them on a kind of a sliding scale as to where they are. Things like loud noises, or being able to be on his back and be comfortable and calm rather than trying to bite you and get away. So you take all of those kind of sliding scale tasks and figure out where they are on the spectrum. If you don't want a dog that's super active and super hyper, and you don't want one that's super laid back either. You want one that's in the middle, that is curious and confident and not afraid of things. So that's kind of get your best guess basically of the puppies that will fit. And when you're doing the test with a litter of puppies, it really becomes evident which ones are probably a little too much on one side of the spectrum or the other. But basically in the whole service dog industry, it's very difficult to say this dog will make it through all the way, so they have a very high failure rate, fortunately.
Yeah. And so how old do they have to be to like be sold to as a service dog?
Usually the training takes about 18 months
Okay.
to 2 years of age. So we start the puppies out right at 8 weeks of age with their early training. And then their advanced training probably happens around year 1 to 2.
Okay.
That's why they are so expensive. It takes a long time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You put so much effort into making them, training them and things like that. Just another quick question. For when they stay at your organization, or do you have like a shelter for them to stay in with like crates and stuff?
Yeah, we have created in my house a puppy room, and we have a nice big space. We have crates in there, dog washing station, and we attached to that, there's an outdoor play area where the puppies can go out and play and be completely fenced and safe.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's all the questions I had. Would you like to share where people can find more information or where they can contact you?
Sure. My website is www.bestservicedogs.org. And we also have a Facebook page, and we are also on Instagram at Best Service Dogs. So all of our contact information is there. And you can see the puppies and the dogs. And I try to keep a blog active as much as I can.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for talking to me today. I hope all of you guys enjoyed and got inspired to help out in the community. I would love to hear your comments and suggestions and feedback. You can email me those at knowyourcharity5@gmail.com, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.